coming into the structure of the day. Circle around is how I hit my target. I could see that big goal. As well as understanding the dynamics of. I want to ask you a question today. This is John Hardy giving you the business tip of the day so you can do business better. Hello everybody, this is John Hardy bringing to you the John Hardy Show, or as we do as well is the Coach's Corner. And we're doing a season now where we're doing interviews with a number of people that I've had relationships with, coaching opportunities with. And with me in the studio today is Derek McCutcheon. And Derek comes from quite an interesting background that we actually haven't done before. So stay tuned and get ready for some really interesting insights. Because what we want to cover today is how coaching can impact anybody at any stage of life. So get ready. So Derek, welcome to the studio.
Thank you, John. Really good to be here.
It is, yeah. I'm looking forward to this conversation, really. Tell us and tell our viewers a little bit about who Derek is.
So I am a middle-aged guy who has been in ministry of religion pretty much all his life.
Okay.
I got the crossroads with year 12
yes.
as to what I wanted to do with my life. Was I going to go into business finance and make lots of money? Or was I going to go into ministry and try and make an impact on the world? And it was a really hard decision for me, but yeah, ministry it's been, and I've been doing that for over 20 years now.
Okay. Tell us a little bit more about Derek and his family, because you've got one of those.
Yeah. So I've also been married just over 20 years.
Okay.
I have two beautiful daughters. I have a big one, Michaela. She's now aged 16. And I've got a little one, Caitlin. She's aged 8. So big gap in between brings its interesting dynamics, indeed.
So what's special about both those two girls?
They're very different.
Yeah.
Like you always, when you're talking with other parents, you always hear about how each of the kids are different, and you kind of go, well, it's still the same genes, still the same mum and dad. How can that be? But oh my goodness, they are just so different. I love Michaela, my eldest, for her creativity and her genuine, just love for what she does. And Caitlin is a lot more playful, a lot more social. She's apple of Daddy's eye.
And tell us about your wife.
Yeah, so Julie and I have been on a journey together. She started off orthodontic, dental, but wasn't feeling fulfilled. She is in her niche at the moment. She's currently working as a personal assistant to a principal at a high school up in the hills of Western Australia, and she works really hard, but really enjoys it.
Now, we got together a while ago, didn't we?
I'm thinking, John, over 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I would think we'd be getting close to 5 years since I first met you.
Yeah. So what was going on in your world at that stage?
Predominantly, the beginning of my ministry career was focused on impacting young people. It was something that I was passionate about. It was something that I was drawn to. Even when I was working alongside someone in a local church, I always felt drawn to doing chaplaincy at schools. I love working with young people, and I had been doing that for 15 years. An opportunity came up where what we call conference, which is oversees what happens in the state with all the different local churches. They were looking for someone to oversee leadership development and church planting. And what I mean by church planting is, starting churches in areas that there are no churches, or suburbs that don't have a church, and all that sort of thing. I got approached because I had previous experience in Melbourne in actually working alongside somebody to start a church in Western Melbourne, out in the suburbs. I don't know whether your viewers would be aware, but the Taylor's Lakes, Taylor's Hill type area. And it was a really hard decision for me because I was just loving what I was doing. But I stepped into it. I'd had the experience with the administration, and so they thought I was a good fit. And so when I started the role, it was a very steep learning curve for me. Very different to what I was used to. I felt like a fish out of water and just needed to find my feet. And I actually don't remember how I came across your name, John. I think it was through your networking.
I think
someone
it was, yes.
someone said to me, Derek, if this is your role, you need to talk to John. He's a coach. He has experience in planting. Give him a go. And in my mind, I had a vision of what coaching was all about. I thought I was calling an Anthony Robbins.
We found that one out, didn't we?
So I made the call, and we had a really important relationship for the 4 years that I had that role. Yeah.
So what was it that you knew you needed to really wrestle with and engage with, that you needed a coach in your room?
I guess there's two things. Number one, I needed some insight from fresh eyes of things that I wasn't seeing, the blind spots. There were areas that I knew that I didn't know. And so I knew I could work on those areas, but there was also areas in my life that I didn't know that I didn't know. And I think coaching for me, that was a really big aspect of what I was looking for. The other thing that was really important for me in our relationship together was I am a very big picture type person. So when you're talking top strengths, visionary is very high in one of my top strengths, and so I've got lots of really good ideas.
I remember that conversation, yes.
But to put it down and go, all right, Derry, that's good that you've got that vision and what it looks like, you've got that in your head. But what's the next step? So rather than being overwhelmed of all these things that it could look like, what's your next step?
So we actually helped you in the conversation, made some suggestions about how you might put some of those things into a better priority, a better understanding for you.
Big time.
Yeah. So what were some of those things that you saw take place in getting that initial conversation going and you beginning on that journey?
Yeah. So my vision was way too big for where we were at as a denomination. So things like, Derek, how can you better resource the people on the ground rather than it being about you and your vision, whatever. How are you helping the people on the ground that are actually doing the planting? That was a big one for me.
We did something with your ideas, didn't we?
You want to remind me?
So remember one of the questions you had was, I have all these ideas, what do I do with them?
So,
yeah, remember
from
that
what
question?
I remember,
yes.
we listed it out.
Yeah, that's right.
And then we prioritised.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you began to create an ideas journal where you kept them and could go back to them and give yourself permission to look at them without them overwhelming you, which is what you found yourself doing many, many times. Yeah.
Which I still do, John, by the way.
We need to talk again.
It's a great thing, Just simple tools like that that outside eyes can look at and go, and I don't even remember it being you telling me. It may have been. But one of the things that you're good at is just asking the questions and just letting it hang. And let the brain process, let the brain work. And then when I come up with the idea, if I ever do, right, then it's my idea, and so I'm more likely to follow through.
Absolutely. That's the power of coaching.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So a coach really doesn't want to tell, because then he has to sustain that for the client or for yourself.
They might want to.
Yeah, sometimes they want to, yes.
So in my coaching journey, it's very tempting. And I always have you sitting on my shoulder and just going, Derek, it's not about you as the coach, it's about them as the client.
Yeah.
They've got to come up with it themselves.
Yeah.
And even if you see them wrestling and all that sort of thing, don't step in and save them.
Yeah.
Let them figure it out.
Yeah.
I love that analogy. I don't know if your viewers are aware of it, but I love that story about the kid who desperately wants to help the butterfly trying to get out of its cocoon.
Yes.
It's like it's struggling. It wants to come out. It wants to have life. Let me just step in and help that poor little butterfly. But by doing that, they're making life much more difficult.
Totally disable it. Yeah. Yes. So, what have you seen yourself develop into? Because that's a fair length of time, 4 years that we've been working together.
Yeah.
So what have you developed into, and what's happened because of that for you? In the way you see yourself now compared to 4 years ago, in that initial conversation and initial, I need a coach, can you help me?
Yeah. I still think it comes down to the prioritisation and the holding yourself accountable for the next step. Particularly for someone like me who is a visionary. It's all well and good, but you've got to have focus. You've got to have that laser focus that goes, all these other things can be done, but if we can just get this right, it will make things for the others so much easier. So I still hold to that. And just the importance of next step.
Now, you also were challenged about Derek the man, weren't you? Not only Derek, the person who had the role. So tell us about what was happening in that dimension for you as we were engaged in coaching.
Part of that being a visionary and seeing things happen slower than what you would hope, what you would expect. There's a lot of self-doubt that comes with that. You were immensely important in my life during that time to just go, you know what, Derek, you can only do what you can control. And just step back and know that you're doing the right things and you're keeping on track with that. So that was really important to me. The other one was, I can't remember how far into our coaching relationship, but I lost my mum. And that had a huge impact on me as a person. It wasn't a counselling session. It wasn't there, Derek, I'll pat you on the shoulder and let you cry on my shoulder. Again, it was just giving that space and allowing me to air how it was impacting me as a person. And for that, John, I reckon I'll be forever grateful, because, we all see ourselves in our professional life, in our careers, particularly as guys. I don't want to be so general, but guys in particular, I reckon, are just really focused on career part, and some people are really good at compartmentalising between personal and I'm not that way. Everything comes in and I have to deal with it all and whatever. That was a really hard time in my life, and coaching was really important for me to be able to air what was going on, without it being counselling, without it being. It's just, okay, Derek, this is what's going on in your life, but what's the next step?
So I often will tell people, what I'm actually doing is I will coach the business,
Yep.
or like for you in your church world,
Yep.
it's a similar dynamic.
Yep.
I'll coach the person.
Yep.
I'll coach the person in the business,
Yep.
and I'll coach the business in the person.
Yep.
So it's quite holistic, the dimensions, and sometimes we try to dichotomize and pull them apart, and yet they're incredibly intertwined, and it really is important to recognize that. And I think help people as we talk about that, how you see that really intertwined and how it's helped you grow as a leader in your role.
Yeah. I saw it even more, John, in my experience of doing coaching. And I haven't had the same experience as you, but I also noticed that as well. I reckon when people sign up to, I want to be involved in coaching, I want help in my business side, and they go in going, this is what it's going to do for me. And yet when you scratch the surface, you find out that some of the challenges that people are having with career or whatever it might be that they initially signed up for, there's underlying stuff that they're not even aware of.
Mm-hmm.
And to try and get people to realise that and be able to observe it like as a distance and see how knotted sometimes it can be, and just go, you know what, if we can unravel some of that will impact your business, that will impact your career. You think you're operating at this level and you're frustrated because you're not getting to the higher level, and yet it's this underlying stuff, this stuff that we're not even consciously aware of that's going on in our world.
So how was that for you, in understanding that and you processing yourself through that as we work together?
Yeah. So part of me was frustrated by that because that's not what I signed up for. I was like, John, I want this to be focused on career, I want this to be focused on business. But like I said about the situation with my mum, it had to be unravelled. Situation with my marriage and my relationship with my kids, it's got to be unravelled. Not like a counsellor. It's not like, sit down and I want to hear your history about, how things were with your mother and all that. That's not what coaching is about. But just giving that awareness of, Derek, here's stuff that's going on in your life, and do you think there could possibly be anything that's going on there that's impacting? And it's obvious. When you ask those questions, it's so obvious.
Yep.
And then you go, okay, well, maybe my next step isn't about my business. Maybe my next step is not career focused. If I can tie up some of these loose ends in other areas of my life, then I will be more focused.
Yeah. Now, you came one day with a mind map.
Oh, I love Mindmap.
Yes, you do. So tell me, why did you do that?
I'm a big fan, so I reckon it should work for everybody. I don't know if it does, but for me, it just spaced it out. So here's the different areas of my life. Here's where I think I can do next step for each of them. And then it's constantly in front of you. So I think I had in the middle of my mind map, 2018 goals. One branch is career, one branch is family, one branch is hobbies, one branch, might be friends. What are you going to do for each of them? It simplified it, and it made me realise that my bar was way too high. And that was always a struggle, I think, with our coaching is, Derek, that bar's too high. Stop beating yourself up.
That's right.
that you're not achieving all these things, you're not Superman.
Because it helped you become a lot more realistic, didn't it?
It did.
And therefore more able to set realistic goals and objectives and actually see realistic outcomes.
Correct.
So you did some videoing, was part of that, wasn't it?
It was.
So tell me, how did that unfold?
So one of the areas that we were looking at as a denomination is, it's one thing to have leadership development at a certain level, but how does it help the average person that chooses to attend a church week after week? And I think media's, becoming very powerful in doing that. And so the whole idea was to do snippets, video snippets, really short, but pack a punch, so that people can get the idea, within 2 or 3 minutes of what you're trying to say. I think people can invest 2 or 3 minutes, and some of them might work for them, others of them might not. But yeah.
So it took you on a journey into, and you've kind of hinted at it a little bit, that you've actually now become a coach. So tell me, why did that happen for you?
So I'd always been interested in the Anthony Robbins of the world, and what they do. So there's always been an interest level. But once I experienced it with you, I went, this is what I think leaders of the world need. And you might sit down and spend an hour with me, and then you might sit down and spend an hour with someone else. Completely different things to talk about, completely different goals. But because you're meeting them where they're at and it's all about them, then you just listen and work in their world to help them to become a better version of themselves. I loved that, because so often in my world, particularly with what we were doing with young people, we were running programs, really cool programs that the kids would walk away from and just go, yeah, I'm energized, I'm inspired. And then by Sunday, something comes up in their world and it's all forgotten.
Yeah.
That's not impacting society. We went on a journey. For 4 years, we went on a journey. And I'm a different person now to what I was 4 years ago, because someone was willing to hold my hand and go on that journey with me. And I'm like, if leadership development is one of my key interests, and if I can do that for other people, then I'm making a difference.
Because coaches can help leaders multiply themselves.
And that's even more exciting.
Yes, it is. Yes.
I mean, I don't know whether you're people that are watching this are familiar with the Christian context, but in my world, Jesus, I think, was all about leadership development, and his model was as simple as, I want to impact the world, but you know how I'm going to do it? I'm just going to do life with these 12 guys. We're going to eat together. We're going to, walk and talk together. We're going to just do life together. And by impacting those 12, then those 12 went and impacted more, who then impacted more. That's exponential growth. That's compound interest.
Absolutely.
That's all those things. Just because you're willing to invest in a small group of people. Last night, I did some group coaching. I've got a small group of about 7 to 8 people, and part of me's going, I don't know if this is good use of my time. It's a night away from home. I'm only spending it with 8 people. rather than, you know, being on stage and trying to impact a greater amount of people, is it really worth it? I just love it. The encouragement that they've given each other, the next steps and the things that they're doing in their life because of what they're learning and how they're growing in this group. I think it's the highlight of my working time at the moment, is just having a small group of leaders and just speaking life into their world, knowing that they're going to be able to do the same for other people.
Now, many of our people listening to us today work in the business world.
Sure.
Now, we've dropped a whole bunch of hints and insights. How can we translate that for them and help them see what you've experienced is real and helpful for them in what they're doing? How would you translate that for them?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm repeating myself here, John, but for me the concept is by taking a journey with someone who's interested in what I'm doing and in how I'm going in my life. If someone's willing to take me on that journey and challenge me and encourage me and all those sorts of things, and I keep taking the next step, and then I'm growing as a leader. And by me expanding as a leader, I've got more to give to other people. So, I mean, that works really well in my church world, but it's got to be the same in the business world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it all comes back to leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And if a leader is willing to grow and to expand, and then do that for other people in their world, and help them to grow and expand, rather than the stick and trying to make
mm-hmm.
people do stuff. It's about encouraging them. Like, make them like flowers. Like, grow them.
Yeah.
And by doing that, not only are you speaking into their world, but they're now expanding and growing. And so from that, then that's got to impact the business.
And it's interesting, you talked about the video, about communicating with your clients.
Yep.
The power of that, just giving them on a regular basis an encouragement, an insight, a strategy to help them grow. So we've dropped a whole bunch of insights, and I want the viewers to actually learn to translate that. But I think you've summed it up really well. The power of coaching, whatever stage of life you're at, will have an impact if you're willing to engage and be willing to be challenged about the world in which you are and the frame and the limits that you've set, because a coach will actually look with fresh eyes and bring a new perspective into your world. So tell me today, in comparison to the Derek 4 years ago, who is he today?
So I've done the growing with the personal, but what I'm most proud of is the growing with the professional. That I actually see myself now as a leader of leaders. You know, it's something that I guess I always aspired to, but in my mind it was always about leading people under you, and in my world it was always about leading young people. Now I'm leading leaders.
Who can lead leaders.
Who lead leaders.
Yes.
And
And we can do that in business, we can do that in any context, we can do it in not-for-profit world, can't we?
It's
Get a coach.
Coaching is imperative.
And for me, it's a delight, the fact that you've actually picked it up and you are now coaching. That's just an absolute delight for me. So, thank you for being in the studio with us today. It's been a delight to be able to share, and I think people are going to get a lot of insight and encouragement and some challenges there about what's going on in their world. So it's been a delight to be with you all, and you know my heart is I want to help you do business better, but we're also helping you do life better. Thank you much for taking the time to be with us today. Sorry, I mean into the structure of the circle around us, how hit my target. I could see that big goal, as well as understanding the dynamics of. I want to ask you a question today. This is John Hardy giving you the business tip of the day so you can do business better.
Well, Derek, John, that was great listening to your insights there. One thing I did pick up, it was really interesting, you were talking about leadership and in your world with Jesus and concentrating on small groups and the impact they can have, as well as you compared yourself like the Tony Robbins got the great big stage. But it's interesting, you know, that when you work in small groups and take the pressure of having 3,500 people in front of you, have you found the impact can be deeper meaningfully and have a broader reaching impact that you get a 100% result rather than a fractional percent result? What have you found?
Big difference, Michael. And I'm surprised at how long it's taken me to get there. I enjoy the stage. I enjoy presenting in front of 5,000 people. I've absolutely loved it. But in honesty, when you think about it, where am I getting my biggest impact? Is it with that group of 5,000 that I did the 20-minute presentation with? Or is it this small group of just 7 people that we're doing life together? There's just no comparison.
It's an interesting, I love that analogy, doing life together. And John, you go on this journey with many of your clients, and I know you do one-on-one coaching and you do group coaching. Would you say that when you get a smaller group in your experience as well, that you're finding bigger impacts? Or is it slightly different when you're a professional coach like yourself, that bigger groups you get the same result? How do you feel about that?
Because I do coaching has an impact. And I know, I do this all the time with people. Go to your seminar, go to your PD day is really good. And unless it's attached to coaching, it will fail. So I want to get people who are learning and growing and then help them really enhance what they're learning and growing with. So this is when we do this to ourselves all the time. We know we should learn, but nobody is in our room to bring any accountability. So I'm with an artist who is a pastel artist, and met him yesterday, and he had a talk to his wife last night, and she said this: if we keep doing what we keep on doing, we'll keep on repeating the same mistake of not actually getting anywhere. And this guy is in our town, is probably one of the premier pastel artists who's got amazing potential, but keeps repeating the same mistake. And we do it all the time. We repeat the same mistake of never really making the changes that we need to make. And a coach does that. And that's why having somebody like Derek in the room, who is now not only being coached, but is now moved into that whole space of coaching, the impact is, I think you can't measure the difference of what it actually does to what we do in going to seminars and workshops and hope they will actually change our world.
Yeah.
They won't.
Yeah. And I've been to countless ones, Michael. You know, the seminars, the workshops, I'm a junkie. I love them. But, you know, you walk out of that room all hyped and inspired, but being inspired is different to being empowered. And what I got from John with the one-on-one coaching is empowerment. You know, he's not about being the rah-rah Anthony. I'm not bagging Anthony Robbins, I love him to bits, yes. But what John provided for me was not that hype. It was the one-on-one, what are you going to do about it? What's the next step?
Yeah.
It was interesting you talk like that, and I'm listening to you now, and I'm reflecting back on what you were saying during your conversation with John. One of your comments was when you first met John, your goals or your aspirations were just far in excess of what was actually possible or realistic.
Yeah.
Do you find that when you go to the big raha, they do pump you up, and they're good, and I love Anthony Robbins.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I do find people come out of there with just slightly skewed expectations, and they think they're going to go from zero to $1 million income, and there's nothing in between, when there's a journey to be had.
Yep.
Is that where you see where you start to fill in the gaps? Yes, go for the Tony Robbins 7-figure incomes and and those huge goals you've got, but you feel like the one-on-one stuff that you now do in your small groups, you're filling the stepping stones almost, as it were, to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
If someone was in that position and they've come out of there and they come to you, what would you say has made the difference when you had that realization? What difference did it actually make to you in your world?
I guess just breaking it down into manageable goals, and that's where the mind mapping thing was really important for me, and the accountability. So what you're left with after the big rah-rahs is the emptiness of, okay, so that's what I want, but what's the next step, and how am I going to get there? You need someone to hold your hand and go, all right, so this is where you want to go. This is the expectations, but what's the next step? And once you've done that baby step, come back to me and we'll go a bit more.
John, as a professional coach, and you do this all the time, do you find sometimes people come out of the big events, like I've been to them as well, we all have, and they come to you and you bring them down to earth? Do you find sometimes they're going, hold on, this is too little, I want more, and there's almost a disappointment in, no, I need this, and you can see that they're not quite there yet?
Yeah, I've got an illustration with one client who's gone to a PD day in the school world, and she picked up one idea. She shared it accidentally with somebody else, and they said, oh, that's a good idea. Can you help me with that? She began to coach that person with that idea. It reinforced it in her, but it actually helped the next person. It's now kind of spread across the whole school, and it's a simple method of giving effective feedback. Because oftentimes we don't tell the story very well at all. So she had a good idea, but she was keeping it to herself and using it with her staff and her responsibilities. But another staff member said, I heard you learned something, share it with me, and coached. And that's what I find is people will come from those events with good ideas, but then they don't know what to do. And she accidentally found, she ended up engaging. And we know the power of learning is writing, listening, hearing, but touching. And if you can give it away, you will actually really reinforce that in you, and it actually becomes part of you. And so that's what she accidentally did. But as coaches, this is what we deliberately do on an ongoing basis. So inspiration is great, but empowerment is so much better. And then the next step after that is you're actually engaged, and watch the difference that makes in your world.
I know the time is short, but just one thing before you go. The topic came up, mind mapping.
Oh, yes, yes.
Your two coaches in the room. Give me your version of mind mapping. Derek, you can go.
Derek will do a better job than I. Yes.
I don't know about that. So I'm inspired by Tony Buzan. He is I think Englishman that won the World Memory Championships. He's an old guy, but just has a phenomenal memory, and he does it, he says, through this concept of mind mapping. So you're attaching words to visuals, and then, I mean, I love it so much, I've gotten into his software, and so with that software, I'm doing the pictures and the words and whatever, so that when I'm going up and doing presentations to large groups of people, I'm not attached to notes anymore. All I have is that mind map in front of me with the pictures, and it just reminds you what's next.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and you know, I often get comments about my public speaking ability and how do you do that without notes? But I cheat. I use Buzan's mind mapping techniques.
Yes.
It's really, really cool.
Creating pictures in your mind where you can attach memory to is the power of what mind maps can do. And it's a great technique, but what you've got to do with techniques or tools is find what you resonate with. So I can be prescriptive, but if it doesn't resonate, it's just not going to fly. So it resonated with Derek. It could resonate with you. Go and search it out. Start practicing. Get an A4 sheet of paper. Put a circle in the middle and call it you. And then see where you want to go and begin to draw it out and help describe what's going on in your world. And watch the insights that you will actually get about who you are. It really is a really great tool, a great insight to help you reflect on you, and then take it to your coach and say, this is what I found out about myself, help me, and watch the difference that makes in where you move your coaching going forward.
Beautiful. John, Derek, thanks for staying back after the show and having a bit of a chat with us. Much appreciated.
It's great to be here, and remember, we're trying to do this so you can do life and business better. Thank you so much. Into the structure of the circle around it's how I hit my target. I could see that big goal, as well as understanding the dynamics of it. I want to ask you a question today. This is John Hardy giving you the business tip of the day so you can do business better.